Hi, I'm Michaela Weaver, and today I'm talking about the effects of coronavirus and the stress that we are all under globally, the effect that that has on our alcohol-free sobriety intentions. And so if you've had thoughts lately about, I just want a drink, and you've not had a drink and you've been discovering and enjoying sobriety for a number of days or weeks, I'm going to be talking about that in this video. If you have actually had a drink and you've been 30, 40, 50, 100 days without one, I'm going to be talking about that in this video as well. So I'm going to be covering two things. It's what to do after it's happened. Where do you go from there? And it's also understanding what's going on at the time, so you may be able to avoid it if you're not at that place yet where you may have felt that you're just going to have a drink. And so wherever you are, if you're watching this in the Discover Sober program, because I'm producing this for everybody, that's absolutely fine. You can watch it at any point. If you're going alone, then this is going to be helpful for you as well. We are facing an unprecedented time of stress, uncertainty, and anxiety. And I have been inundated by people who are crying out for help, who have slipped, who've had a slip up and had a few drinks, maybe over a day or a couple of days, and people who are just thinking, I don't know how much longer I can hold on to this. And so the first thing I want to say is that it's really important. On the program, I talk about the 5 must-haves for success, and one of those is about being compassionate. So let me just go through what I mean by that with you right now. Often when we talk about compassion, we talk about compassion for others, which is great and it's laudable and it's very important, again, particularly right now. But compassion has to start at home, and we need to extend that to ourselves. So let's say we've had a slip up. The way we think about that post-event, and I'm saying post-event, is really, really important. So let's say you had a drink last night. Let's say you had a drink last night and the night before, and you'd broken a period of sobriety, and you felt you were doing so well, and the stress just got on top of you. What I don't want you to do is to start beating yourself up about that. I don't want you to start thinking about yourself as a failure, because what that does is that takes us of the power that you've enjoyed, that you've developed and you've cultivated over the days that have led you to this point. And it's power that you took back over alcohol in your conscious mind to reframe and to rethink the benefits of alcohol. It's that power that took you through the times and days and weeks, possibly in months, where you weren't drinking. And so what I want for you to do right now is to claim that power back, because you absolutely can. When we start to talk to ourselves in a way that beats ourselves up, where we start saying that we've let ourselves down, that we've failed, that, we should have been stronger. If you think about it, that's the mindset that we were at the beginning before we started our journey. And so it's as important now to continue our journey, because that's what we're doing. Maybe you've just stopped off at a grotty cafe for a couple of days. We can carry on our journey. And so it's as important now to get that mindset as it was in the beginning. And a key important part of that mindset is that compassion. And the way that we exercise that is over being very, very careful about the language we use when we talk to ourselves internally and also externally on our Facebook groups, and particularly the closed groups around sobriety, the language that we use and the way that we express ourselves. And also be mindful at this point that the way that you do that affects other people as well. So if we can avoid saying things like, I was passing the aisles and panicked when there was no alcohol, that sends out negativity that others may not understand. So, but it's also important to understand that even that's okay to think that, because it is just our kind of natural response, if you like, to an enormous crisis. We all have our own. I won't bore you with mine, but I know you have yours, and they are massive and they are significant. Everybody's lives have been completely turned upside down. And also, rest assured, this is the time when your power and your natural intelligence and wisdom is really needed and can shine. And it will shine in a much, much stronger light without alcohol, because as you know, if you're going through the program or you've watched any of my masterclasses, you will know that alcohol causes stress and it causes anxiety. The last drink plants it in our body. Now, the good news is if it's just a small slip up, it is minuscule right now. And so that can be just overcome. That can be overcome. So what do we do when we get these negative thoughts? So part of what I say is, with our thoughts that come to us, whatever they may be, and again, if you're on the program or you've been through the program, then you may be at the point where we've covered this, but I'm going to go through it again right now. Thoughts are like twigs and logs floating down a stream. And right now, that stream is going really, really fast. And there are loads and loads of logs and twigs cluttering up that stream. Now, where we can be and we can remain is we can sit on the bank of the river and we can watch those thoughts flow past us. When we start attaching ourselves to those thoughts, they can really run away with us and we're downstream a mile before we know it. Now, we can still get off and sit on the bank, and we can walk back up and we can sit again. And what we need to do over this time is to continue to do that and to practice it. Thoughts are there. Where our attention goes, the energy flows. And so by giving our thoughts less attention and by diving into them, we can minimize the effects that they have. So that's one thing that you can utilize and you can practice when these thoughts of I want to drink are coming into the fore, and I'll explain where they're coming from in a minute. But also, if there's been a slip up, it's just a slip up. It's just a slip up. And I want you to be compassionate and to forgive yourself and to think about those thoughts like those twigs and logs in the stream. You don't need to go there. You can stay back. And so what else can we do with those thoughts to change them around? And one of the things I teach in my programs, I don't actually use this phrase or this word, but what we do when we talk about the beliefs around alcohol is we reframe our beliefs. And so if you think about it, if within a frame, like a picture, you're seeing me in a frame right now, we're just literally taking our thoughts and we're putting it into a different frame. And the power of that is extraordinary. And what it does is it completely changes our belief structure and our emotional and our mental position in the here and the now. And so when we have a slip up, what you're likely to be doing is beating yourself up, looking at all the reasons for why you went wrong, blaming yourself, shaming yourself, and giving yourself a load of guilt. So that actually disempowers us for a start. So we really don't want to be doing that. So what can we do instead? We can reframe that thinking. And so the first thing to do is to write down what it is that you're actually thinking. Write down those thoughts. It could be in relation to specific problems that you felt drove you to it. It could be things to do with losing your job, other people in your family losing their job. It could be to do with loved ones in isolation. It could be loved ones in isolation with an illness that you're unable to see. It could be having children at home for 6 months. It could be the natural stress with those people around you not being able to deal with this. It could be yourself struggling to deal with it. It could be all of the above. Write it down and look at the things that are the actual biggest things and write down all the things that you're thinking about it. what we often do is we do something called catastrophizing. And that means that we just make out the worst case scenarios. And do you know what? Right now, all the stuff on the news, that's really not helping. It's one thing keeping up to date with bulletins so we know what to do, but I urge you not to listen to the news often. Certainly not catching every bulletin. Once every few days, if you need to. Rest assured, if there's any changes to what we need to do in our society, that will come to you anyway. But it really doesn't help in building, though, that catastrophization, which we then take into our own situations and our own families. We've got our own stuff going on, and it almost becomes something that we are in the stream. We are on the biggest log, and we're getting dragged down with it. Understand that that's not emotionally and mentally healthy right now. So try to distance yourself from that. So write down the thoughts. And if you've had a blip, and we're just going to call it a blip with alcohol, if you've had a blip and you've been doing really, really well, or you're thinking blip language, write down all the things that you are thinking about yourself. And there may be thoughts like, I've failed. This is so hard. I've just messed up. All the things that you've thought in the past when things didn't go quite right. Write it down and bring to the fore what thinking, that feeling and that thought actually does for you. How does it make you feel? How does it make you behave in terms of the way you might speak to somebody, or you may reach just for another drink because you think, I've just failed. I'm just going to have another one. What does it matter right now? I just can't do this. No, write it all down. And then what I want you to do is to just step back and separate yourself from what's written on that piece of paper. In the same way that you're separating yourself from the thoughts that are going past in the river. And look at it objectively. And I want you to write down different ways that you can think about the situation. I want you to write down a different load of thoughts that reframe it. And so rather than saying, I completely messed up, I'm a failure because I had a blip, I want you to be thinking of things like, I had a drink and now I'm feeling bad about it. And now I'm realizing that it wasn't what I wanted to do. And now I'm realizing that I really don't want to do it again. And now I'm realizing that I was doing really, really, really well. And now I'm realizing that I'm going through an incredibly, incredibly stressful and anxious time. And I'm going to be really compassionate and kind to myself right now, because I know that my subconscious mind was just doing its best. And I'm dealing with an intensely stressful situation. And yesterday, I just chose the wrong path. You see, that will help you reframe the whole thing. So that's the first thing I want you to do, is to just sit quietly, get a piece of paper and go through that. And you may find yourself very, very emotional when you write down your initial thoughts about the shame and the blame and the guilt. And when you think about how it really, really makes you feel and how it makes you behave, and that you don't really want that for yourself, because by thinking those thoughts and beating yourself up, you are not doing yourself any favors. In actually the absolute opposite of favor, you're making yourself the victim again, and you are taking away your power, and you are causing yourself unnecessary pain. So reframing those thoughts into different thoughts around the same situation that lead you forwards into the light and not take you back into the darkness is where the success is here. You see, as much as we would like success to be a run through, first time, immediately, 100%, life isn't always like that. And so an 85% success first time round is exquisitely good. Just start from today moving forwards. Leave yesterday behind you and believe that you have all the resources to do this. What led you to start this is what's going to take you forwards now. Exercise compassion for yourself, and do that before you exercise compassion for others. It's very, very important. So what happened scientifically in our subconscious mind that may have led us to begin to question our decision, and incidentally our decision that we made when we decided to take this journey is absolutely the right one. I'm just going to write that down because I want to come back to it. What happened in our subconscious mind? Because subconscious mind is where addiction sits. And so what we do in the Masterclass is we begin to break that down a little. And in the Discover Sober program, we break it down entirely. So by doing a number of different things. So you've been doing extremely well up until now. And the subconscious mind is designed to protect us. And most of the time, excuse me a minute, most of the time, it does a really, really good job. The reason that our conscious learning gets absorbed into our subconscious mind is because otherwise we would just have overload. We would have overload in our conscious mind. And does that not sound familiar? We are being overloaded right now. We are being overloaded. And so our subconscious mind is racing around in the maddest, most frenetic panic, accessing every single data source over our lifetime that it possibly can, looking at ways to help us. It recognizes that we are in stress, anxiety, overload, and it's running around trying to get any old thread of anything to help us. And what it is doing is it's finding a thread that is connecting alcohol with high stress, high anxiety. Because in the past, that has worked. At least we believed it worked. Because what we didn't understand back then, when that record was planted in our subconscious minds, what we didn't understand back then was alcohol was adding to any stress in our lives. Alcohol is like injecting ourselves with stress. It's like injecting ourselves with anxiety. All we're doing when we're taking that next drink is dumbing down that stress and anxiety that alcohol has caused. So if our stress levels are right up here right now because of the coronavirus and because of all of the threats to our world, our personal worlds, our livelihoods and our families and our friends and our children, if it's up there, then taking the drug called alcohol is going to take us from there to there. There is no other way, biologically, neurologically, scientifically, that there is any other effect that alcohol can have. And every time, so we're up here, we start adding alcohol, we're up here. Every time that we drink, we're going down in terms of our stress levels. And if you've gone through my graph, that you'll think, hang on, it's upside down. But our stress levels now are there. Alcohol will take it down and take it higher. It will take it down and take it higher. And it will continue to do that for as long as we drink. And our anxiety levels are going up and up and up with every drink that we consume. So our subconscious mind went back to a record that is out of date and is based on wrong information. It went back to a strand of wrong evidence that said, when I'm stressed, I drink because that's going to help. No. We now know, you now know that alcohol directly causes stress. And the longest it's going to stay in our system is 7 to 10 days. But the actual level of it genuinely is very, very low. It's like a slight feeling, if everything else about the coronavirus and everything else had gone away, the feeling of alcohol is like of wanting that, of alcohol stress is like a subtle aggravation. Is that the right word? Aggravation. Yeah. I didn't sleep so well last night myself. So it's like an aggravation. It's not even like a bad toothache. The physical effects of alcohol for the most part are really very minor. It's the psychological attachment. So I'm going to ask you to just cut through that. Know that that record that your blip went back to is yesterday's news, my friend. It is so yesterday's news. Your little subconscious mind, bless its heart, show it compassion. Along with yourself that picked up the glass, or maybe thinking of picking up the glass, or maybe you rushed out to try to stock up, or you're panicking because your friends are, they may have the wine in or whatever. That is a memory of what happened that worked before. It always was an abusive relationship. If you've just hooked up and just, gone out for a couple of drinks with this relationship again, it still is the most abusive relationship on the planet. More people will die because of alcohol this year than the coronavirus. So give yourself the time. Just find it. Find 5 minutes in this chaos. You may be rushing back and forwards, trying to save your business, trying to firefight everything. Stop. Take 5 minutes out. Time alone. Write down what I've said in this reframing technique. So write down your thoughts about any situation, literally. But if it's about specifically beating yourself up, about thinking you're going to give up your sobriety, or thinking about what's happened because you've had a blip, write down all of the things that your inner critic is saying to you. Write all that down, all that nastiness, all that craziness, all that blame and shame and disempowering stuff. We kind of do that to protect ourselves as well. Because we think we've been bad. It's almost like, I've been bad, make me badder. Hurt me because I've been bad. Do not hurt yourself because of this. You have not been bad. It's your subconscious mind doing its best to help in extreme circumstances. So write down the thoughts, write down the way it's making you feel. It's making you feel bad. The thoughts are not helping. They're not helpful. Think of some different ways of thinking, of thinking. Think of some different ways of thinking. Write those down. I've been successful. I've been powerful. I understand now that alcohol is a poison. I understand that alcohol robs me of sleep. I understand that alcohol is no fun in the realms of everything because alcohol causes that misery at 4 a.m. in the morning. I understand that alcohol it doesn't taste good. It's just a load of poison with sugar in it. I understand all this stuff. I've learned all this stuff. I've moved on. And yet I just had a blip. I'll tell you a little story. I hope it resonates with you. It is about me, and I was just thinking about it but before I jotted down some ideas for this video. And so you may well know that, just excuse me a second. I've got a bit of a dry throat. You may well know that before, no, so let me get this right. When I stopped drinking, I put the money aside that I saved and I bought myself a motorbike, and I did my initial license. I don't know anyway, I got my motorbike license. Okay. So the first time I ever went out, I went on this enormous gathering of a ride with some people that I lost. I just lost them. We were down the motorway. I think there must have been 4,000 motorbikes. That's really crazy to do when you just had your license for 2 weeks. So I lost all these people, and I sort of followed some other people, and I went off the motorway and the highway, whatever it's called, wherever you are. I went off at the wrong junction, and I sort of followed these people, and I stopped my bike, and I just went over. It fell right over sideways. And I was just looking up at a sea of faces and people I didn't even recognize. They were lovely, by the way. But I didn't know that it's really obvious. On a motorbike, if the ground's not straight and there's enough of an angle and you put your foot down, there's no ground there and you just go over. So I didn't know that. And so now I do. And I'm never going to make that mistake again because I know it. And so we move on and learn something else. I pulled up for an MOT to a really, really busy garage about 6 months after this first boop. And there was all these guys watching me pull in, and I was like, I got to do this right. And when you put a motorbike upright, you have like a little stand that you kick out. So I kicked the stand out. But what I didn't know was for my type of motorbike, you have to really push this stand forwards and make sure it sticks in place. Otherwise, it runs the risk of when you get off, it flicks back up again and the whole thing falls over. So yet again, I didn't know that, and I fell off again, and I got back up and I got back on. And this is learning. And right now we're learning a lot. You've come a huge way. If you've stopped drinking for any period of time, you might have used the willpower method, which does have limitations. But nevertheless, if that's where you are and you're not watching this in the Discover Sober program, which doesn't use the willpower method, but just give yourself the credit for where you've come. And just falling off the motorbike because you didn't know about the centre stand or something else, it doesn't matter. Just take it as, this is where we are at this point in time. Let's move forward and learn. As humans, we move forwards and learn all the time. So, a minor setback, just think of it as a blip. It's not gone back to square one. You have not gone back to square one if you've had a little blip. You're just starting again, moving forwards. So practice compassion and think of your thoughts, allowing them where you can to float by you without attachment, and also looking at reframing those thoughts. Just saying frames being dropped on my camera here. Reframing those thoughts when you can. Another thing that I teach in my program and in my teachings is gratitude. It's very, very difficult to feel intensely negative and catastrophic in our thinking when we are grateful. Gratitude and compassion hand in hand are enormously powerful, and those two things alone can carry you across and through any blip and any situation. So right now we are all, as I said, in an awful situation. And yet we can find things within it to feel grateful for. So you can apply this to the coronavirus chaos that might surround you, and you can also apply it to any blip in terms of alcohol. So you may be experiencing problems in your business. Think about how you can show gratitude for the business that you've had to date, for the wisdom that you have brought to that business, and that wisdom that you will apply to the situation right now. Show gratitude if you have employees for what those employees have brought to you, and what those employees in the future, when this situation has changed, may well be able to do for you again. If you have family members like I have who have come home in a crisis, and I now have 6 months of teenagers who are pretty distraught about we have GCSEs if you're in the UK. I have 2 completely rudderless teenagers home with me for 6 months. I found out 48 hours ago, and it actually, my initial reaction was, oh my gosh, how am I going to get through this? I think it's everybody's. And so I'm thinking, I'm grateful that I can be here for them right now. I can be here for these people. I can give them some of my time. I can give them my love. I have this time with them. They would have left home in a couple of years. I have 6 months. I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but I'm going to do my absolute best to make it amazing. And carry that through. I'm going to look after my family. I'm going to cook them fresh food. I'm going to look after their immunity. I'm going to be a great role model. You can be a great role model by being alcohol free. If you've got young people around, they are very, very vulnerable emotionally themselves. Let them see you take your power back. Let them see you fall and get up again. I'm feeling quite emotional. Here's another idea for what you can do. I can show you mine. I'm just going to get up 2 ticks I'll be back. Okay, this is a great thing to do. It's very, very empowering. It's a fun thing to do as well. And I encourage you and urge you to do this. You know, I don't mean right now, this minute, but do this at this point in your life. And you may not have come across it. It's a future board, and here is mine. Here am I. This is my future board with me in the middle of it. Do one for 6 months. Write down all of the things that you want for yourself at the end of 6 months. Maybe it's you want your business to prosper and survive. Maybe you just need it to adapt. I don't know. Maybe it's the health and well-being for your family. If you have elderly relatives, as do I, my father has terminal cancer, as in currently in isolation. I hope that I will see him again. Be grateful and have gratitude for the love that you can give to these people right now. Give them your support, give them your love, have a laugh with them where you can. So your future board is somewhere where you can put all the things that you want. Throw into it your future aspirations. At the end of this, I want to be strong. I want to be strong through it. At the end of it, I want to have learned something, maybe a new cooking skill, or just throw your creativity into it. Right now, you have a blank canvas that you can fill with whatever it is. And write on it words like compassion, gratitude, love, health, all of this, resilience. You can do this. You absolutely can. A blip is not an end. Forgetting to put down a side stand adequately is not an end to a motorbike career any more than it is to a life of sobriety. I'm now an advanced motorcycle rider. I can't believe I've actually done that. And I've just volunteered to be a blood biker as well in this corona chaos. I never thought, and I'm going to be really nervous doing it, but I'm still going to do it anyway. So I hope I've helped to give you some clarity as to what's happening scientifically in your subconscious mind right now with this stress overload, and how to talk to your subconscious mind and give it some love and reassurance that you're not going to beat it up. It just made a mistake, and you're good with it because it's learnt so much. It's working so hard for you, and it's giving you its absolute best. You are giving yourself the best that you can. And working through the things that I'm sharing with you now will enable you to give even better of yourself right now, so that you come through this strong, resilient, proud, authentic, and I know that you can. Alcohol is and always has been a two-faced, backstabbing con artist that adds to stress, that robs of sleep, that causes us anxiety, that poisons our body, and it is no friend of mine, and it is no friend of yours. A blip is just a blip. You take care.